Welcome back to the Financial Wave, a podcast presented by Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union. Today I am joined by Justin Chubb. Justin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Chubb. I'm here with Jersey Shore. I am their business development specialist. Today we're going to be talking about our senior financial scam seminar that I've been giving to a lot of assisted living facilities and local
Senior centers,
whatever.
Yeah. Like we said, we were trying to think of our next podcast topic, and we thought, we already do this presentation, so why not give a chance for everyone to hear it that may have not had the opportunity to come listen to us say it once before. So, Justin, would you like to run down what we're going to be talking about today?
Absolutely. So the objectives that we're going to be covering today would be being aware of financial abuse and common scams, just knowing what's out there and what to look out for, identifying the scope of the problem, how common is this, how many people are affected by it, identifying the typical perpetrators, recognizing the signs of financial abuse and scams, understanding the effects of these scams, and knowing how to prevent it and knowing what to do if this does happen to you.
Perfect. All right. We're going to run through, in case anyone doesn't know what is elder financial abuse? Could you give us the definition?
Sure. So this is from the National Center of Elder Abuse. The definition is the illegal taking, misuse, or concealment of funds, property, or assets of a vulnerable elder at risk for harm by another due to changes in physical functioning, mental functioning, or both.
Right. So that's a pretty self-explanatory, but it's good to give a little general definition. So we now, working in the financial industry, understand how big of a problem this is because, we get to experience it with members and stuff every day. But how big is the problem, on like a global, national scale?
Yeah, so the scope of the problem, I guess on a national scale. So it's often referred to as the crime of the 21st century. It's very common, unfortunately, today. A lot of seniors do fall victim to this. Over 3.5 million older Americans are targeted yearly, which is a lot. So for every case of abuse reported, there's an estimated 4 or more that go unreported.
So just on quick math, that's a lot of millions.
Quite a lot.
That's a lot of millions. So now in that 3.5 million and the ones that don't go reported, now what is the expected loss of those cases?
So again, great question. So the total loss for victims over the age of 60 in 2022, this is the most recent number that we got, was 3.1 billion.
That's with a B.
With a B, yes.
With a B.
So it's a lot of money that is lost to fraud every year. So the total number of victims over the age of 60 is over 88,000. Again, that's just those who reported it.
Right.
So if you want to, expand that out, obviously it's a lot more than 88,000. And so the average dollar loss that a victim, I guess, has is over $35,000 a year, which is not a small chunk of change.
That is absolutely not. That is upsetting and a little crazy when you have to say it out loud. But
yeah,
unfortunate, but that's how big of a problem it is, which is why we're talking about it today.
And that's exactly why we're here today.
Exactly. So we know this is an elder topic, but now what is the actual typical victim? What is the age,
So the typical age is, again, it's anyone of all ages, but for seniors, it's primarily people over the age of 70. They suffer the higher losses, usually because they have higher savings because, they work their whole life and a lot of the money just sits in their accounts.
And they've had years to collect, whether it's Social Security or things like that. It's all been piling up.
People with larger savings, people that are trusting of others, and people often that are lonely or isolated from others as well.
Are the easier targets,
targets. They're the people that are, I guess, most
likely to be a victim.
Likely, exactly.
Yeah. So now, unfortunately, there are bad people out there who prey on these people. And so who are these normal perpetrators of the crime?
So unfortunately, most of the perpetrators are not strangers. They are people that the victims know, whether that be family, caregivers, and neighbors. They're estimated to be involved in more than half of these cases, actually, which is really sad. People, taking advantage of people that they know. And so unfortunately, it's people that have, gained their trust.
Right. Because and everyone thinks about, I got to worry about crazy phone calls, crazy emails, and you're not even thinking, it might be
the person under the same roof sometimes.
So now obviously we said it's not. It's most commonly somebody you know. So when it is somebody you know, how do they carry out the attack or the scam, or I guess make the person a victim? How do they do that?
Yeah. So common or most common ways, they'll just prey on the vulnerabilities of the person. They create a lack of faith in their own abilities. They try to take advantage of them in that sense. Be like, hey, you might not be able to take care of yourself as well, and you got to trust me. Give me all your account information, and I'll handle it for you.
And I'll do it for you.
Yeah,
right.
And pretty much like, hands off and I'll take care of it for you. Obviously, that's not wise if it's not someone that you completely trust, a spouse or a family member that, you have complete confidence in.
Right, correct. So sliding through here. So what are some examples of, it's obviously, as this is a problem, someone just taking money off your counter, it's not the only way that these scams take place. What are some common examples of financial abuse that may happen?
So, yeah, obviously, first and foremost, as we had, you just mentioned, money and leaving valuables out. That's one of the things that you got to be aware of. You don't want to just leave your diamond ring out on the dresser,
Good tip.
Good
tip.
If you got one of those, do not leave them out in sight. But more commonly, what we try to look out for is people that are forging signatures. Examples of this would be a check or a legal document. Those, that may not have been filled in properly or completely. So actually, most common, people will not sign checks. They'll have blank checks. And obviously you don't want to, leave a blank check out there because someone could write in, for whoever and whatever amount they want.
Right. Never hand someone something that you've signed and said, oh, could you just fill in the number and the person for me? Because
they could just add a couple zeros and they're off to the races.
Right. Correct. So how do these people, reach out? How do these scams start? What are the different types and scenarios that may happen to look out for?
So there's actually a lot of different financial scams, and they're creating new ones every day, it seems like, unfortunately. So, but the most popular ones to look out for, actually the most popular would be the romance scams.
I think we've all heard.
Yeah, we've all heard of these romance scams. They met someone online, whether that be through like a dating site or whatever it may be. Because a lot of these senior citizens, if they're single or, they're a widow or a widower, they're looking for companionship and they might be a little lonely and they're looking for someone, and someone's, promising like, hey, if you send me some money, I can come meet you.
Right. They're never local people.
No. It usually seems like a offshore rigger or, someone
from a different country
serving overseas, and usually it's not your next door neighbor. So usually they will ask for money, and obviously you will never
once you send it
see them.
That's pretty much the end of that.
Unfortunately it does happen. Another one is online shopping scams, especially now in this post-COVID society where everything is very easy to access online for shopping. Yes, right. Digital, through whether it be Amazon or just these online shopping carts and all that fun stuff.
Right.
So usually there'll be scams where, it'll be a pop-up like, oh, act here, buy one, get one free. And usually when they click on those links, that's when the scam starts.
You get to that fake website where you put in your information.
Exactly.
And then you don't get the item.
Or they can affect your computer with malware or anything like that.
Right. Always good to be aware of what you're clicking on, especially if it's an ad on the side of the screen.
Exactly. And another popular one would be lottery scams or sweepstakes. People pretending to be like, oh, you won the jackpot or whatever. We just need your account information and we can directly deposit the winnings right into your account.
Right. Yep. They're not going to do that.
No, not at all. And more recently, we've heard that relief or charity support ones, such as like GoFundMe pages.
Right. We've all heard of the GoFundMes that come up.
Yeah. So again, those are very prevalent as well. GoFundMe pages, people will come up with, silly stories just to extort money out of people,
right.
Especially people that are trusting and, are good natured and be like, oh, they're, really hurt and I should help them out. Usually, unless you know the person, don't just, give out your money.
Right. Verify to make sure it's an actual cause.
It's a legitimate cause.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So repair and contracting scams. So actually, when I was at one of these local seminars that I was giving, I had a woman come up to me afterwards, and she was telling me about one of these repair and contracting scams that she fell victim to. So she had decided on getting her kitchen remodeled, and she found a guy on Craigslist who promised to do the job, and he just wanted to get paid up front. Right there.
Red flag.
That is your red flag right there.
That is red flag waving in the distance.
Yes. Yeah. So unfortunately, she fell for it. She paid him up front. It was a large amount of money. And she never heard from him again.
Yeah. So tip coming from that is never pay up front. Pay either as you go or at the end if they would allow you to do that. But most commonly, pay as you go.
Pay as you go is usually the best way to go. Identity theft, that's obviously, that's been around forever, still prevalent. Tech support scams, whether people claiming to be Apple, Microsoft. Yeah. Those are very common. And, they try to scare you, like, oh, your information's been compromised. You need to contact Apple or Microsoft and
or give us access to your computer.
Yeah. Give us access. Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
Yeah. That's something you want to be aware of. And any kind of imposter scam, people pretending to be who they're not. Even that's like, people that will come to your door and ask, like, hey, I'm with a local solar company or whatever.
Right.
Those are very common as well.
Okay. So now, obviously, you're going to get, at some point in your life, a scam's going to reach out to you because it's just, in today's day and age, it's going to happen. So what do you do if this happens to you?
So first and foremost, so don't panic. Just if you don't recognize the number of someone calling you, don't pick up.
Exactly.
If it's important, they'll leave a message.
Scams, a lot of the time, they're not going to leave a message.
No, not at all. Usually they're just trying to see if it's an active number, if it's live, see if they get someone. It's phishing. That's kind of what they call it in the industry, is phishing. And so they're just trying to see if there's anyone on the other end. And they're like, oh, we got a live person here. And they will keep trying to bother you.
So the best thing is just don't answer it.
Yeah, don't answer it.
And eventually they'll stop calling because they'll think it's either a dead number or they just know you're never going to pick up. It's not worth their time.
Exactly.
Another one we like to talk about is, if a credit card company reaches out to you or a bank reaches out to you or a doctor, and it doesn't seem like it's a normal communication from them or it's something out of the ordinary, don't answer that directly. Call the number call the person call a contact, and ask them directly, hey, is this real? Because most of the time they're going to say, no, we didn't send that. And then automatically, it's a scam. Don't even think about it again. Don't even touch it. I would say, all right, that's a good advice to follow. Okay, so now we all have people that we love, people that we take care of. So what are some signs to watch out for if, you're not the person being scammed, but you're looking out for the person who may have been scammed?
Yeah, today, obviously with people living longer, people are taking care of their parents and grandparents. Right. And so it's always important to look out for signs that they may have been financially, taken advantage of. So just the signs to look out for, change in routine. Say if a friend or loved one, usually is very active in their community, all of a sudden they become withdrawn, or they have a new best friend, that might be a sign of a romance scam.
I met this lady playing this game on my phone, and she lives.
Their solitaire buddy all of a sudden is asking for money. That's probably
red flag. Another red flag.
So again, missing belongings or property. Even if like, hey, they're getting older, they will misplace things. That happens to all of us. It happens to me. I misplace things all the time.
Right.
But no, if things are actually going missing, and say they have like a home care nurse that's coming in that is new, maybe that's just something to keep an eye on. Withdrawn behavior, disheveled appearance. Obviously, those are all signs of something that has gone wrong. Running out to constantly buy gift cards as well. That's important to look out for, because a lot of people, they'll ask for different, Amazon gift cards or Microsoft gift cards or whatever it may be.
Right. A lot of the scams nowadays isn't always money. Sometimes it's, they'll make you buy gift cards, redeem all the money off of them, and then you're out whatever money you paid for it. And then
I know gift cards can be technically smaller amounts, but still, $50 is $50.
And it adds up too if it's multiple times.
And I guess just a few other signs that you would want to make sure to look out for is, their lifestyle is not consistent for their income or assets. If someone, is very well off and they're living well inside their means, not like they haven't been, maybe it's like, okay, something's changed, whether that be someone taking advantage of them or, extorting their money from them.
Right. Maybe they've already been scammed and now they have, less money to deal with or to live with. And, if they're always generous or a nice tipper and then all of a sudden they're a little stingy.
Exactly. Spending patterns is something you want to look out for as well.
Right.
If they are constantly, anxious about their personal finance, going into their local financial institution, whether it be, a credit union or a bank or wherever it might be, if they're constantly, asking for a balance and, if you've noticed like a dramatic change in their balances, that's just something to, just be like, hey, I've noticed your money's gone down or, you've been spending a lot more than recent and just something to look out for.
Right. All these are just signs. It doesn't mean anything's happened, but it's if you start to see multiple things to look out for, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as we said earlier, a lot of these crimes don't get reported. And some people ask, why wouldn't they just tell somebody? So what are these reasons? Why aren't they all reported and why don't they tell somebody?
Yeah, so great question. So a lot of these people, they don't want government interference in their personal lives. This is just one of the examples. People, they like to have that independence still. They want to, they feel like they can do everything by themselves, as we all do.
Right.
So they don't want government interference in their personal lives. There's so many different things that they want to, stay on top of, and they're like, oh, I need this independence still, whether it be financially.
Personal finances is one of those that you want to keep, to yourself most of the time.
Yeah, you kind of don't want, people nosing in your own business, especially financially. So they don't want their family facing public embarrassment. Usually these people, they'll feel kind of silly for falling for something, especially, looking back, they'll be like, oh, there were so many signs and I fell for it.
How did I not know?
Yeah. How did I not know? How could I have been so stupid to fall for this? But obviously that is not true.
As you can tell by the numbers that we reported earlier.
Yeah, it happens to a lot of people.
Was it 88,000 a year or something? So
yeah. Well, that was reported. Yeah. So I mean, multiply that out, and there's a lot of people
hundreds of thousands of people.
Exactly. So they kind of feel responsible for what they've done. Most people, they're like, I deserve this. They're like, it was my own, knucklehead decision.
Right.
And,
which is again, not true. None of these are true. These are all bad reasons.
These are bad reasons. Absolutely. So make sure that you always do report it. We actually recently attended a FBI seminar where they were talking about senior financial scams. And they were just saying, if you know any loved one that may have been affected by one, just make sure they report it. Because even if, they will get their money back, but just to protect the other people too.
Right. Like they said, maybe one person tells them something that someone else hasn't, and it could lead to multiple people having their issues resolved as opposed to just that one person that's, initially reporting it, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on here. So things to prevent, to be prepared, be prepared is always a big thing. So what type of legal documents should you have ready or should you have prepared as you get older? I mean, at any time in life, it's always good to have these, but as you get older, it's definitely a little bit more important and prevalent to have these.
So most importantly, I would say any form of trusts, a will, financial power of attorney, a living will, also important to stay on top of, healthcare power of attorney as well. Pretty much any kind of legal document. It's always good to just, revisit them every once in a while. And, notice to see hey, all of a sudden, mom and dad has someone I don't know on their, will. Right. And it's like, okay, that might be something to look into. And just make sure when you are preparing these documents, just to have someone that you trust, whether that be a spouse, a child, or someone that you genuinely trust, just to have them with you, just to, make sure that you're not being taken advantage of.
Right. And a lawyer, if you're someone you have for a long time, make sure these legal documents are prepared correctly and on time.
Yeah.
So more other side from the documents, the legal documents, there are other ways to kind of prevent some of these things from happening.
Yeah.
Let's slide through those.
Yeah, sure. So prevention, these are just a couple of different tips of just things to look out for. Never give someone a signed blank check, which we had mentioned. Obviously, This is a big no-no. Make sure it is completely filled out.
Such a no-no. We mentioned it twice.
Yes, exactly. So never sign anything you don't understand. This is very important. I personally need to do a better job of this as well. When you're reading through different, I guess, waivers or whatever you want to say, there's all the small print. You
Those
don't feel
terms
like
and conditions.
terms and conditions. You don't feel like reading it, and you really should before you click.
Especially when it comes to
select
something
or-
that's like a financial.
Yes,
financial
anything
issue.
where you can be affected financially. It's always important to just review that document. Have someone else look over it if you don't understand it. Never leave money or money and valuables in plain sight. Never give your ATM card or PIN number to anyone. This
Big
is
one.
actually very popular. People, they'll be like, "Hey, can you just run to the Mac for me?" And they'll give them their PIN number and say they just wanted a small withdrawal, maybe like $20, and then the person may take an additional $5, maybe not every time, but every other time, and just say, "Oh, it just must be a fee from the machine." Obviously, it'll add up.
Right. $5 once is, oh, okay, $5 25 times.
Yeah.
You get there. It starts to add up.
Yeah. So again, prevention, another thing important to remember is just your passwords. Make sure you write them down, have them locked up in a safe area or location. I personally like to have a spreadsheet with everything. Just that way it's easy to access for you and you only.
And you can put passwords on these spreadsheets and everything just to make sure
just
it's
make
all
sure they're
secured.
not out in plain sight.
Right, correct. So at the credit union, we like to have events for shred events. Would you like to explain what a shred event is?
Yes. So a shred event. So this is actually something the credit union holds, and a lot of other different, municipalities, your local township may hold these as well. So what a shred event is we actually rent out a giant shred truck. Where people can bring in their documents with their personal information on it, and they can actually have that shredded in front of them.
Right.
Instead of just doing it personally, you could just get it done all at once. This is just a great event to bring people out, and the rule of thumb is to have anything that's over 3 or 6 years that has your personal information that you won't need. You won't need stuff from the 90s anymore. So
Right. And it's going to have your social on it, your address, your
anything
full
with
names.
your personal information,
Right,
you may
correct.
want to just consider shredding.
So what are some good habits to get into just to, monitor yourself, your own finances, and to make sure, the scams don't happen to you and make sure you're on top of whatever you need to be on top of?
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I would just say stay organized. That's most important. I personally need to do a better job of this as well. Just stay active and engaged with others in your community. Make sure you don't become withdrawn, because usually that's the type of people that
Or get targeted.
are targeted. People that aren't as active, and it's just something to look out for. Review all statements for unauthorized charges, whether that be receipts, credit card statements, bank statements. Monitor your financial accounts, set up alerts.
This is one of the biggest ones we like to tell people. Whether you know how to set up alerts by yourself, or you can ask a family member or a friend. Most mobile apps for any bank or credit union is going to have the option to, if anything gets taken out of your account, it'll send you a text message or it'll send you an alert within the app. And obviously, if you have the app on your phone and you see something go through that you did not pay for, a number one sign that something's going on. So if you take anything away from this, please set these alerts up. It's the best way to monitor your stuff 24/7 and the quickest way to figure out if you're being scammed or you're being taken advantage of. So please take that with you at the end of this.
Yeah. And again, because everyone has their phone right on them at all times. It's just so easy to access your information that way. So, if something does look fishy, you could check it out right away.
Right. And then at that point, you contact your bank, your credit union, and say, hey, I didn't make this charge. What is this?
And that's why we always encourage direct deposit as well.
Exactly.
If you get a paycheck or, your social security check or whatever it may be, just, get direct deposit right away.
Perfect. Okay. So now if this does happen to you, if you realize, oh my God, I might be falling for something, or, what should you do? What are the steps to take?
So the steps that we highly recommend, first and foremost, just try to stay calm. Try not to, overreact. Because obviously when you get, upset, you're not going to be thinking as clearly. Write down any of your concerns, be specific. Use summarizing bullet points. This is just easier. That way, when you go back, you'd be like, oh, this person called me at this time, this date, and this is what he said. So again, write down any important information during the conversation. So, and in case of, it actually is a legitimate scam, you can call Adult Protective Services, law enforcement, and other affected financial institutions immediately, just to make sure nothing has been affected.
Right, exactly. So now we did compile a little list of resources and places you can go, in case anything ever happens to you that gives you additional information or just even more in-depth information based on what we talked about today. I just want to run through those real quick, Justin.
Sure. So we just have a couple of resources here. First one is the National Center of Elder Abuse. They are a very good resource, as well as the Adult Protective Services. Their website is fantastic, very informative. AARP, they have scam alerts. Again, great website to go to and check out. And the United States Department of Justice. Their website, again, I personally have gone on it. Yeah, they have a senior scam page, and I've looked through it a couple times, and it's very informative.
All right, so that pretty much is the financial scam portion of our podcast today. We hope you learned something of value, and if anything, like I said, we threw a couple things. But if you take half of this information with you, that's great. Anything will help, prevent scams in the future. As we do with every podcast episode, we'll flip real quick to our community corner. Right now at the credit union, we have our Tools for Schools drive that we do every year. We donate school supplies like binders, books, notebooks, whiteboards, anything like that to the Middle Township School District. So that'll be going on for the next couple of months. So if you have anything you'd like to buy or anything when school comes around, you'd like to donate, that'd be awesome. We collect at all of our branches. And it's a great way to help the kids that, need a little extra help to get that school year started. So I want to thank Justin. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. You are our third guest, and it was wonderful to have you on here.
All right. Third time's a charm.
All right. Thank you all for listening.